Imagine standing among a crowd that has followed Jesus all day. You've seen the miracles. You've heard words that felt like light breaking into ordinary life. Sick bodies restored, hungry people fed, hope rising quietly in the air. Everything feels certain. Everything feels safe. And then, without warning, Jesus turns and walks away. No farewell, no explanation, no final miracle to soften the moment. Just distance growing with every step. Dust lifts from the ground. The crowd falls silent, and confusion settles in like a weight no one expected. This moment is written in the Gospels, but it is rarely discussed because it is uncomfortable. It challenges the idea that faith is always warm, clear, and reassuring. Here, Jesus does something that feels almost wrong to human expectation. He does not chase the crowd. He does not adjust his words to keep them close. He does not rush to fix their confusion. Instead, he allows it to exist, and that decision reveals something deeper than any miracle. Have you ever felt that same tension? A moment when faith felt smaller than fear. When God seemed silent at the exact time you wanted answers. When you expected comfort but received distance instead. This story is not about rejection. It is about exposure. Because when Jesus walks away, what remains is not noise, not excitement, not momentum, but the truth of the heart. Some people follow for miracles. Some follow for solutions. Some follow because the crowd feels safe. But when certainty disappears, motives are revealed. And this is where the story becomes personal. Because the silence that follows his steps forces a question no one can avoid. Why am I here? Not shouted, not demanded, just waiting in the quiet. Welcome to Faith in English Bible Stories, a place for those who want faith explained, not rushed. As you listen, picture the scene clearly, the shoreline behind them, the open road ahead of him, the pause where no one knows what to say. This is not the end of the story, it is the doorway, because what happens next will separate belief from habit, faith from comfort, and followers from observers. On the shore of Capernaum, the place matters more than it first appears. This moment unfolds on the shore near Capernaum, where land meets water and decisions feel temporary, where people come expecting rest, food, healing, and answers that fit inside their plans. Boats are pulled onto the sand, nets lie half-folded. The sea breathes slowly, calm and familiar. Nothing about the setting feels dangerous. In fact, it feels safe. That is exactly why the tension goes unnoticed at first. Crowds gather easily here. Fishermen, families, travelers, the curious, the desperate. Some recognized Jesus from stories whispered along the road. Others followed him after seeing what he could do with bread, sickness, and words. Expectations hang in the air. Many assume the pattern will continue, teaching that inspires, miracles that amaze, reassurance that everything will work out. The setting invites comfort. It encourages assumptions. It suggests that faith will be rewarded immediately. But Scripture often places its hardest moments in ordinary spaces. Not in palaces, not on battlefields, but in familiar environments where people feel confident they understand what is happening. This shoreline becomes a quiet testing ground, not because danger is present, but because choice is coming. Jesus stands among them, not elevated, not distant. His presence feels close, almost accessible. And that closeness creates a dangerous illusion that following him means agreement, clarity, and control. The crowd leans in, ready to receive. They are listening, but listening does not always mean understanding, and understanding does not always mean acceptance. The conflict has not yet erupted, but it is already forming beneath the calm. Like a tide pulling back before a wave, something unseen is preparing to move. Because faith is not tested when everything feels peaceful. It is tested when words disrupt expectations and truth refuses to bend. This setting speaks quietly to the present moment. Many people seek God in safe spaces, hoping faith will confirm what they already believe. But the shoreline teaches a different lesson, that God often speaks hardest truths where we feel most comfortable. And when He does, the response reveals far more than the location ever could. The words that split the crowd. The shift does not come with thunder. It arrives through words. Jesus begins to speak, and at first the crowd listens the way crowds always do, expectant, confident that what comes next will confirm their hopes. But then the tone changes. His words grow heavier, deeper, less predictable. He speaks truth that does not flatter, teaching that cannot be reduced to a slogan or softened by applause. And slowly something fractures. Faces change. Some lean back in confusion, others exchange uneasy glances. A few tighten their jaws, offended not by cruelty, but by clarity. The words do not accuse, but they demand. They do not entertain, but they expose. And that is where resistance is born. Because truth that cannot be controlled often feels like rejection to those who expected comfort. This is the conflict moment, the place where faith is tested not by danger, but by meaning. Miracles excite the crowd. Bread satisfies hunger. Healing brings gratitude. But words that challenge identity, motives, and expectations require something deeper. They require surrender. And not everyone came prepared for that. Scripture shows this pattern again and again. People are willing to follow God while the path feels useful. But when obedience becomes costly, enthusiasm fades. The crowd is not evil. They are human. They measure truth by benefit, not by transformation. And Jesus, knowing this, does not negotiate His message to keep them comfortable. Some hear His words and feel invited, drawn into something deeper than miracles. Others hear the same words and feel pushed away. Not because Jesus changes, but because hearts respond differently. This is the moment when following Him stops being public and starts becoming personal. Silence spreads after the teaching, not the peaceful kind, but the tense kind, filled with thoughts no one wants to speak out loud. Questions rise, doubts surface, and a quiet realization settles in. This path may cost more than expected. Faith has crossed from admiration into decision. When heaven doesn't chase you, what happens next is not loud. There is no argument, no debate, no final warning shouted across the shore. Jesus simply turns and walks away. His steps are steady, unhurried, deliberate. Each one increases the space between Him and the crowd. And in that growing distance, something far more powerful than noise takes place. Silence, not punishment, not anger. Silence that allows truth to surface. This is the moment many struggle to accept. Jesus does not run after those who hesitate. He does not soften His teaching to keep numbers high. He does not explain Himself again to make belief easier. He respects the choice unfolding in front of Him. And that respect feels unsettling, because we expect God to chase, to persuade, to prevent loss at all costs. But here, heaven does not chase hearts that are not ready to follow freely. Some people step back, others turn to leave. Sand shifts under restless feet, conversations break into fragments, a few look down, avoiding the weight of decision. The miracle worker they followed now refuses to perform for approval, and that refusal becomes the greatest test of all. Because when Jesus walks away, the crowd must face a truth they can no longer ignore. Following Him was never about spectacle, it was about trust. This moment exposes something universal. Many want God's power, but not His authority. His gifts, but not His direction. His presence, but not His truth. And when those things no longer align, walking away feels easier than surrender. Jesus allows that choice, not because He lacks compassion, but because love that forces obedience is not love at all. The road ahead of Him is open. The crowd behind Him is thinning. and in between lies the space where faith either matures or dissolves. This is not rejection. It is revelation. Those who leave reveal what they sought. Those who remain are about to discover what faith truly means. The mirror inside the confusion. Now the crowd is thinner. The noise has faded. What remains is not certainty, but exposure. Those who stayed stand quietly, caught between what they expected and what they just witnessed. No miracle follows the silence. No explanation rushes in to rescue their comfort. Instead, confusion settles like a mirror held up to the heart. And mirrors are uncomfortable because they reflect motives we rarely question. This is where the story turns inward. The disciples are still there, but their confidence is shaken. They followed Jesus long enough to recognize his authority, yet not long enough to understand his ways fully. They thought closeness guaranteed clarity, but now they realize faith does not always come with easy understanding. Sometimes it arrives with tension that refuses to resolve quickly. In this moment, belief is stripped of its benefits. No crowds, no applause, no visible reward. Only a question hanging in the air. Why am I still here? Not asked aloud, but felt deeply. Some hearts search for certainty, others search for escape, and a few begin to understand something dangerous and beautiful. That faith is not about agreement, but about trust when agreement is impossible. Jesus does not turn back yet. He allows the mirror to do its work, because when distractions disappear, the soul speaks honestly. The confusion is not a failure of faith, it is its testing ground. This is where faith matures or quietly dies, not through pressure, but through choice. The Bible rarely shows this part clearly, but it is essential. God often reveals truth not by adding information, but by removing comfort. What remains shows what was real all along. And here, in this quiet space, belief becomes personal, not inherited, not borrowed, chosen. If this reflection feels close to your own experience, if you've ever stood in faith without clear answers, write one word in the comments: choice. Because the final moment of this story will not depend on miracles, crowds, or explanations, but on a single decision made in the quiet. The choice to stay. The moment does not end with a miracle, it ends with a question. Jesus stops walking and turns, not to the crowd that has already drifted away, but to the few who remain. His gaze is calm, unforced, honest, and with one simple question, he places the weight of choice back where it belongs. Not on signs, not on explanations, but on the heart. Will you also go away? No pressure, no guilt, just truth offered without protection. The disciples stand still. They do not understand everything he has said. The path ahead is unclear. There are no guarantees of comfort, safety, or success. Yet something deeper than certainty holds them in place. They realize that leaving would not bring clarity, only distance. And staying, though costly, feels true. In that quiet space, faith finally speaks, not loudly, not confidently, but sincerely. This is the turning point. Not because confusion disappears, but because commitment forms without it. Faith matures here in the absence of answers. It learns to walk without seeing the full road, to trust without controlling the outcome, to stay, not because it is easy, but because there is nowhere else that holds life. The story closes without spectacle. No crowd returns, no applause follows. Only a small group choosing presence over certainty, relationship over results. And that choice echoes through time. Because every generation stands in this same moment, when faith asks not, "What will I get?" but "Who will I follow?" As this story settles in your heart, remember, faith is not proven by how loudly we believe, but by how quietly we remain when others leave. These stories are for those who want faith explained, not rushed. For those who want to see what others miss in the Bible. If you recognize yourself here, This journey is meant to continue. Before you go, take a breath. Let the noise fade. And if this moment spoke to you, write one word in the comments, following, not as a declaration of perfection, but as a simple decision to stay, even when the road ahead is not clear.